told.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get started on our workshop tonight. The update on the zoning demand, Kelly had a last minute emergency and had to go pick up a sick child. So we're going to bump that to next month's meeting. And we'll move right along to the parking lot bonds. I emailed you this information before, but it's also printed out for you. I reached out to the bond fund and looked at 5 and 10-year notes. And 5-year note is at 1.79%, a 10-year is at 2.33. If you notice, each column has an annual debt service. This would be to construct the parking lot across the creek in conjunction with our growing parking needs. Currently, our total debt allocation is under 5%, and it's $440-ish thousand a year, give or
Yeah.
take. And so we could swing the additional payment, budget for it, and move forward on the 10-year plan. The difference in the kind of truth in lending statement on the 5 versus 10, the 168 is getting to be pretty large, but the 90,000 a year would be doable. So I wanted to discuss that with the commission. Is this something we want to pursue to get started on that parking sooner rather than later at this interest rate versus the cost of construction escalation?
Well, with the construction of the park, we've got to definitely do something. Our hands are tied. The festival that they had a couple weeks ago was absolutely a mess.
Mhm.
You can get cars through it, emergency vehicles, because we did drive through that, but it's, people were parking everywhere, and we need to figure out a better way. Even until we get something built,
Mhm.
people have to park within reasons. And we probably need to get our police force to look at that as well.
Could you use the mic so some of us could hear?
Oh, I was just saying that the festival was a success, but the parking was absolutely terrible. And until we get something built, we need the police department to enforce what we can. Because they were parking everywhere, stuck in the mud, stuck wherever they could.
Yes, and we had some preliminary conversations with the contractor for them to do a better job on their site, limiting access, and they're going to. But in doing so, it's going to push the demand to other locations. And so I've started coordinating with the foundation a little bit better to come up with a more consistent plan and lay it out on how they expect people to park, because it got out of hand.
So if we start building this in, say, the 1st of November, how long will it be before it's finished?
It'll take from go 5-ish months to get permitted. Then we're in winter, so we would come on May-ish would be my expectation, May, June. If we hit go now, the goal would be to have it prepared before the Freedom Celebration, and that's probably about as quick as we could get it done.
And this will be a paved parking lot?
That would be the next conversation we need to have. It needs to be hard surface of some nature. 2 terraced asphalt pads and heat island effects, if that's the route we want to go, versus reinforced gravel parking or something of that nature. Either way, the substrate there is bad. We're going to have to over excavate. We're going to have to cement stabilize and firm up the soil itself. So how we actually finish it, I think we need to have a discussion amongst the commission and the community on what they would like to see. A lot of times your overflow parking, you can look at things like pavers or pea gravel rather than just asphalt. Just asphalt is the easiest, and it is the easiest for families with strollers, young children, ADA folks. But it does, aesthetically, it's not as appealing, and I think we would need to get a little input from the community. That's kind of a final detail that we could incorporate in the plans after we got started.
Is that considered wetlands along there?
There is a stream on the northern side that we have to stay out of, and we also have a 60-foot buffer off of the creek and a sewer pipe. So the property is limited, and it's in the floodplain and floodway. So it is limited on exactly how we can terrace it, and all that would have to be taken into consideration.
And also consideration of Ooltewah Ringo Road when it expands.
Yes, and luckily we did do the field review on those plans last week, so we have an idea where it would be. We could add a little bit of room for comfort and possible changes, but design around that.
Is 800,000, that mic is really hot, is 800,000 what you estimate the cost of the project to be currently?
Yes, that's what we currently estimate. We're having to be pretty conservative on what it's going to cost to address the poor soils. I would love it to come in for probably 200,000 less than this, but there's some pretty poor soils, especially on that lower terrace, that we are going to have to dig out and firm up.
In your opinion, what is the benefit of taking a loan instead of just using cash on hand?
One is the loan is under inflation, so it's pretty cheap money to have. It's always good to have cash on hand. We do have good reserves right now, but I would like to not spend them down too aggressively, especially when our annual debt service is so low. Even with this money, it's pretty cheap money to borrow versus just writing a check for it.
Well, I certainly believe it's something that needs to be done sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. I think if we don't, it's going to limit the ability to utilize the facility. I don't think we can continue to have expectations of thousands and thousands of people there when you can only have a few hundred cars parked appropriately. So we've built something that everybody loves and enjoys and wants to use. And I think it behooves us to get going on this to help complete the loop. It seems like
There was a lot of concern after the festival for the church up on the hill, because I happened to be up there for a funeral the next day, and some of the members accosted me. And I said that wasn't the city's festival.
Mhm.
But anyway, they had a real concern because they had a hard time getting in and out.
Yes, my understanding is the foundation had someone out there directing traffic to help get them in and out. And that's some of our opportunities for improvement.
Yeah, they were hoping that if it happened again, that the police a presence would be more open and
So
available.
on that note, so I don't want to get off the topic of this, but it's something that we might want to discuss is requiring festivals of that size to hire extra jobs for Collegedale officers to be there for security and traffic control. It's not right to have patrol pulled off of the road to be traffic, doing traffic and stuff like that and security. So it might be something that we want to look at in the future for festivals at that. I mean, they're used to paying it at the stadium and downtown. I don't think this is a situation, and it gives our guys an opportunity to make some extra money.
I think it's a conversation definitely worth having. My concern would be where we draw that line on how big do we expect the festival to be to require it versus strongly suggest it, et cetera. But you're exactly right. We're staffed for normal events on a Saturday. And if they're going to attract 10,000 plus people, that's a demand that we're not normally doing. And it shouldn't fall on the citizens to supplement a different festival like that. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because, our weekend festivals or events we have on Sundays, it's not very impactful from a traffic perspective. But we know when they had the green egg at Ace Hardware and like that type, they're always packed. So I definitely think we need to plan on charging them for that.
I mean, we pay for extra police officers to be on duty whenever we have the fireworks and whatnot. So if we believe that there should be an extra police presence, it probably should fall on the vendor as a cost.
And it may be good for us to show that some of the parking needs to be next to the dollar store over here or Family Dollar versus, we definitely want to try to keep them out of Greenbrier Cove because there's really no parking for them in there. So,
Okay. I'll coordinate with Chief Sapp
okay.
and come up with a high-level outline of when we think it would be prudent to push the vendors, and then we'll coordinate through the foundation on enacting some of that, and then circle back to y'all.
Back to this though, I would be more inclined to the 5-year, so we're not spending as much in interest. If we've got the cash on hand to not be stretched too much. I know you said the 168 is a little bit higher than the 90, a little bit more uncomfortable, but if you're moving funds, $43,000 in interest is a lot better than 60,000 in interest. So
What did you say the difference was?
So it's
I subtracted
it's 106 minus 44.
yes, it's like
So it's
60.
62.
Yeah.
62, yeah, that's what I
In
got.
difference to go from a 5-year to a
62,000 plus.
10-year. And we can look at that more. To your point, we do have cash on hand. This was just a hedge to keep it on hand.
Or even doing a 50% cash on hand expense versus, and then borrowing 50% or some variation, 75, 25 or something just to keep that interest burden down.
Okay.
But I agree, it's cheap, money is cheap. It's just when we're sitting on money, I don't like the optics of spending it on, wasting it on interest.
Right. Any other comments?
So this will be coming to the commission.
Yes. I kind of wanted to get it nailed down before bringing it to you and make sure everyone was in agreement that this was a road we should run down.
And if we voted approval, we can expect to get started right away on the process.
Once it comes to the commission,
Right, that's why I said, once it gets voted
correct,
appropriately,
we'll start on design
if it does.
at that point in time. And in parallel to design, which will focus on the grading, we'll reach out to y'all in the community on the finished surface, because that'll just be a detail we can change last minute.
Is this an in-house project or will it be bidded?
The original goal was in-house. We're to the point now that we're going to have to hire a headhunter to get a staff engineer. We have not received an interested party that met the skill set we need. So we're nailing down which firm we'll use. If we had someone in-house within a month, I would prefer to do it in-house because we'd have a little more control over it. If we don't, then we'll probably need to reach out and get someone to do it just to get the process moving. Because we will need TDEC NOC, Hamilton County Water Quality, we'll need to do detention calculations, and we'll need an ARAP for discharging into the creek. And all of those will take a little time.
And then when we actually do the paving, will we be doing that or will it be
That'll be contracted out.
contracted out?
We're going to have to over excavate. The spoil material will be hauled out to the airport, or I'm sorry, out to the pistol range and spread, similar to what we're doing on our sewer projects, and used at a later date, but then it'll be replaced. That level of work is just more than we can do in-house. We can't dedicate trucks for months on end.
One little side note, doesn't need to go anywhere probably, but I was thinking about this and alternate approaches to surfacing it, because I really would prefer to have something that's cooler than asphalt and more moisture can stay in the area rather than running off. And the temporary runways the military has used for many, many years is metal plating with the holes in them. You can put them down in a heartbeat and you can take them up and they'll hold anything. And the holes are not that big to where strollers would have a problem. It's just something, if we've got a surplus connection somewhere, there may be a bunch of runways somewhere that might really serve us well for pennies on the thousands. So it's just something that I'm familiar with, but hadn't thought of until this weekend. I think it's a legitimate opportunity because the stuff will last forever and it'll hold up semi trucks or airplanes. I mean, so it's not a problem, but
I'll do
I
some research.
like the idea of letting the water stay there and cooler. Those two things are important to me for the environment and everything else. So something we can do, fine. But more important than that, I think, is we have a parking area.
Right. Okay.
That's the coolest.
So then I'll run this down and then bring it to the commission at the appropriate time. The other thing we have is the data results from the survey. The first one was regarding moving the commission meeting times. It looks like 42% of folks wanted to keep it the same. So I assume that's the route the commission wants to go. And then the other was regarding what day to have the Freedom Festival, and 53% wanted to do it on Sunday. So I assume that's the route the commission wants to go.
It is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, we'll plan on that and start coordinating. So. The one other item that's not on the agenda, but I'll go ahead and mention it before we go around, is we will be starting we're doing a year-long study on the Greenway through some grad students, and they're going to be installing weather monitors and then twice a week doing usage counts. There will be no personally identifiable information. They're just going to be looking at how active the Greenway network is over the next year, and then they'll produce a report that we'll get. So, and that's being done free of cost to us as part of some of their grad work.
That's great.
Yeah, and they're not going to be reaching out to anyone, talking to anyone on the Greenway, any of that when they're out there working. So that's all I had, and we'll go around starting with Chief Sapp.
Don't really have anything other than to mention that our agency showcase will be tomorrow here at City Hall at 6 p.m. For anybody who would like to attend, it's just an opportunity for those who have not had a chance to meet me or want to come talk with officers or myself, kind of what we do on a daily basis. We'll have representatives from patrol, investigations, traffic, and just be available to the public. And we're also kind of having a semi-job fair, and HR will be here as well. So we'll have several booths set up, and several officers will be coming to speak to the community. That's all I have.
Andrew?
Nothing new to report.
Christina?
So with Parks and Rec, you obviously already mentioned the UTC research program that's going to happen. We also have UTK grad students that are going to be in town starting Thursday for about a week to do research along the Greenway about native plants to see what we can do to better maintain our greenways. We also just got confirmation this last week that we did get approved for the tree grant to have additional trees to plant to replace from what we lost from the tornadoes this past year. We also have an event tomorrow night. We have our salsa dancing. And we still have a few more spots left, so if you guys are interested, that is our way to celebrate the Latino Hispanic Heritage Month. We, of course, are continuing on with our pickleball clinics, as well as Mahjong Yarn Club. We got some really cool events coming up here shortly with Nerf Wars, and we did make a special time slot for adults. So those are open. And then we, of course, are already getting ready with Halloween. So we're partnering with the library to do an escape room. And the following day, we will be doing an event with the library, TKDO and whatnot you guys probably saw the Jedi training. So for Halloween, we're doing Wizard School. So it's going to be Harry Potter themed. So we're able to throw some literature in there. And then we're working together with Collegedale Tomorrow Foundation for the tractor swing in December. So lots of things coming up. Busy, but we're excited.
Awesome, thank you. Bridget? Michelle?
The audit was last week and it went really, really well. And all funds, to include the airport, made money. So that is great news. That's it.
Also, we have Chestnut Hall Sunday night, grand opening. So that'll be at 6 o'clock. Okay. Commissioner White?
I already mentioned the extra jobs and police security at events at the Commons. I think with all the activity that we're having over there, we need to focus on that. Other than that, nope, everything's going good.
Commissioner Garber?
One question. Last year, we voted expansion of the Greenway concepts and funds. I just wonder where we're at with that. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. Give me a little update on that if you don't mind.
We have not put it out to bid
Okay.
right now. We are waiting to nail down the scooters lease because part of that,
On the which league?
the scooters lease
Okay.
that went through planning commission but has not come to the commission. We did receive the survey this morning. We're reviewing it. When that comes to you, there will be a Greenway expansion that is part of our obligations to tie into that. And so we wanted to roll that in with the expansion funding from this fiscal year. And due to the time of year, we'll probably put that out to bid in March so that they can pour it in April once it warms up a little bit, rather than rushing it now.
And Wayne and I have talked about it a couple of times throughout the last probably 6 months, and we're probably going to put a hold on the sidewalk over by Misty Valley. Is that correct? Because of this other expansion we need to, so.
That was my follow-up.
We're- We're kind of trading the,
Probably just do one at a time until we work through the.
Yep, and if we don't get them all done this year, I mean, at least we're starting the process, so.
the lease was kind of a unplanned but definite benefit to the city. So we're just trading that Misty Valley project for this one.
y'all might have mentioned it here, but I didn't hear it for some reason. And it's nice to be aware of those things when people ask us. Um, I think the showcase is a great idea. I haven't been to one yet, but I plan on coming to
Good.
this one. Looking forward to that very much. The TML was an interesting time spent downtown. The conference, I found out at one of them what not to do or why people are tempted not to go. I think there were 7 people, 6 on a panel and all of them said the same thing over and over again. So if you listen to one of them, you should have just left and you'd known all you needed to know, because it was absolutely the most redundant, ridiculous thing. And it was insulting, is what I will use that word. I'm not used to hearing or giving presentations to an audience that has to hear the same thing 7 times. So anyway, but the other one I went to was funny and fun, and it was great, about explaining the judicial system. And if anybody understands our judicial system, you are a genius, my folks. There are so many interesting rules that don't make a bit of sense, but they work. And I was interested in that. So I had a good time. Got a bunch of little dealy boppers for my granddaughter, so it was worth it. That was enjoyable. That's all I have.
Vice Mayor.
Oh, one more thing. I see Eric's not here. I probably ought to just talk to him. When you go down Leland, the Greenway crosses Leland over there. It's a sidewalk with a road. I just think it'd be really nice to have some of those white diagonal stripes there to give people a heads up as they approach that. Because you see somebody walking on either side of that coming to meet, and if you don't really looking for them, knowing it's a road, there may be a sign there or something, but I just think something on the pavement, some white, whatever they make those diagonal crossing things, would really help. I come through there a lot, and I'm always thinking, man, there ought to be something here to help us.
I think at one time it was actually painted, but it's worn off, and so we can add that to our ADA striping this year.
Okay.
And I'll let Eric know to add it, because that was, Greenbrier was where we were going to focus on a lot of that striping anyhow.
Yeah, well, it needs to be on those crosswalks, I think. Very, very important, yeah.
We-
Everybody's got their dogs and it's just a great place to go walking, so, thank you.
I was going to comment, I'm on the police roundtable for the community, and it's kind of interesting hearing the input from the police officers. A lot of good input. They've been challenged to kind of come up with a new mission statement, and I think they took that to heart. And so we're moving forward with it. So great things to come out of that committee, and I think that the civilian person has not shown up yet, but hopefully they will. But the officers, we've had to change one officer out, but I think they're putting their heart and soul into making this successful.
Good.
That's all.
A couple things. Put December 2 on your calendar. That is when TML District 3 will be meeting here at Collegedale. And we have reserved Chestnut Hall to meet in there. So that's when the TML individuals will come and tell us what they're going to be working on in the legislative body for next year. And we can talk about issues that are concerning our district there. The other thing, I have a suggestion for Halloween. I went a couple of years ago with my granddaughters up in Rhode Island to a festival, and they had different organizations build small Halloween. They could do scarecrows. This particular one was, they had different scarecrows. And they had, other kind of trim and decorations around it. And then they had prizes. And they put them along a sidewalk that when I walk along toward Leland Drive, that area right along there would be perfect to set up and give some of the community opportunity to participate in some Halloween celebrations.
So funny you say that. We are actually in the works right now for doing a scarecrow contest where the community would be creating them, and then we would have them posted for those then to vote for them. So we'd have them on display. Where exactly, we don't know just yet, but of course, along that roadway would be awesome. But that is in the works. We just haven't announced it.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to the festival up in Townsend, but they frequently have the various schoolrooms there develop Halloween displays for prizes. And then they auction them off afterwards.
Thank you.
That's all I have. And I agree with Phil. This TMA conference wasn't as good as ones we've had in the past. And it wasn't attended as well, I don't believe. I think they only had about 275, 300 people register. So, it just didn't have the flavor that it normally did with TML.
If nothing else, we can adjourn.
Oh.